Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton,
I'm Bob Scarborough.
and we are
Oh,
the FAIRtax Guys. And
welcome back.
if you're watching the video rather than listening on the radio station or an audio-only podcast, yes, you can look at the background here, and I am back in hot, sweltering Florida after having been spending 2 weeks in cool, comfortable. Actually, it's that kind of chilly. I needed my jacket up in Alaska.
Mhm.
That was a fantastic trip. I actually found some gold up there this time,
I heard that. I heard
and
about that.
uh, and uh, and another first walked on a glacier. Sprung for one of those helicopter rides out to one of the Alaskan glaciers, and those things are just that's just one of the most impressive things you can do, I think.
You like going up there. You go up there about once a year, don't you?
I do now. There's only
Right.
one there's only one problem with Alaska.
Yeah, what's that?
There's no cheer wine.
What? They
There's
never heard
no
of it, probably.
there's no cheer wine in Alaska, so I have to come home. This is my last bottle of it. I've still got a bunch of cans, but there's my last bottle of cheer wine. I'm gonna work on this for a while. Mm.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Well, I tell you what, let's kind of get back into the swing of things here
Yes,
at
sir.
Fairtax Power Radio, which
Okay.
means right off the top of the bat, we need to go check on the Congress critters and see what they are trying to do to the tax code. It is insane what they're trying to do. As
What do you know?
as we explain every week, we put the words Internal Revenue Code in quotes at the top of the search function at the Congress.gov page. Select only legislation in the current Congress. Those choices are overall on the left column. And when you hit the go button on that, as of the day we are recording this, 1,134 hits. Last time we looked was a couple of weeks ago. It was 1,036. So it's just 98 new proposals to change the tax code since we last looked. And some of them will just make you laugh, and some of them will just make you I don't want to throw rocks at the ones that are doing this.
Hmm. Hmm.
We will start off with H.R. 4717, 4717, the First Time Home Buyers Tax Credit Act of 2025, sponsored by Jimmy Panetta from California 19. And as you can imagine, as the title implies, this bill, let me dig down into the text here. It says, let's amend the Internal Revenue Code to provide a first time home buyer credit and your favorite phrase for other purposes. And we just keep highlighting here on the program week after week after week after week all of the different credits and deductions and exclusions and loopholes that permeate the tax code and make it so incomprehensible, so unstable that there's just nobody on the entire earth, including the people who write it, that nobody can wrap their head around the entire complete thing. And every time you give somebody a tax credit, that means somebody's getting a break that somebody else is not getting. And as worthy as they may be of receiving that break, the still fact is still you're treating people differently. It's not fair. It's not right. We need to replace it all with a fair tax.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, to underscore what Bob just said, what he just said, the tax code is overly complicated, and to choose winners and losers uh, based on tax legislation is, I think, immoral.
Hmm. I will tend to agree with you. And so we just got the First Time Home Buyers Act. And if you go down a little bit farther and find H.R. 4653, this is from Shamari, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Figueres, Figures, of Alabama District 2. Uh, this is the First Time Parents Tax Credit Act. And as you can imagine, the description thereof says a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to establish a refundable tax credit for first-time parents. So you got first-time home buyers get a tax credit if that passes. First-time parents get a tax credit for that. How about first-time people flying in a helicopter out to an Alaskan glacier? Okay, can I get a tax credit for that?
You need one,
Yes, I do. That was not a wildly expensive trip, but it wasn't cheap. But
but you're retired.
Again, it's just crazy how many different credits and stuff are in the tax code. And the Congress getters keep wanting to add more and wanting to add more, and each one contributes to the complexity, contributes to the unfairness, contributes to the factor that people should be really tired of with the income tax right now.
And you would think that even just talking about the Internal Revenue Service, and we know that the president has been saber rattling, if you will, all through the campaign, and even now. There are some benefits that were in the bill just passed, the major bill that was just passed, that provide relief in several areas. But we never quite get to the dismantling of the income tax totally. And that's what we're all about here at the FAIRtax.
Well, just like the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the big beautiful bill, they're both the same. They were tax relief. Neither one was tax reform. They just went in and tweaked some of the parameters that exist in the current system. But we still have the income tax. We still have the IRS. We still have withholding. We still have, civil asset forfeiture. We still have all this nasty stuff that comes with the income tax that needs to go away with the fair tax. Let's keep going here. HR 64. Check that, 4644. My dyslexia is kicking in. HR 4644. This is from Sharice Davids in Kansas. This is called the Able Employment Flexibility Act. If you get into this thing, it says this is a bill, again, to amend the Internal Revenue Code to allow employers to contribute to ABLE accounts in lieu of retirement plan contributions. So I asked, what is an ABLE account? Now look that up. That's a special savings account available to people with disabilities. Pay the extra expenses that people with disabilities sometimes encounter. But now they're saying that this particular bill wants to amend the IRS code of 1986 to allow employers to contribute to ABLE accounts in lieu of retirement plan. What is the government doing telling employees what they can and can't contribute to in the first place?
I mean, or employers for that matter.
Yeah, let the employers decide what they want to contribute to. It should not take an act of Congress to allow your employer to contribute to their ABLE account if they want to offer that to you as a benefit of your employment in place of retirement. Why mess with the tax code to do all that? That's just absolutely crazy. And we need to keep going before I have a hissy fit here. HR 4630. This is to amend the Internal Revenue Code to restore wagering loss limitation rules. Again, you'll write a rule, you'll repeal it, you'll change it around, then you'll take it away, and then you'll restore it. Again, massive instability in the tax code, as illustrated by HR 4630. This is from Representative Andy Barr of Kentucky, to restore the wagering loss limitation. You want to bet he had some gambling losses?
Either that or a friend of his, or maybe the
lobbyist that's funding his reelection campaign.
I was going to say the ones that are again could be against gambling and trying to work out favors for people who just have no luck at gambling.
Yeah. Oh, I should note also that the first-time home buyers tax credit that we mentioned earlier has got a companion bill in the Senate. That's S-2402 from Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. That's written awfully close to the screen there. I have a hard time reading it, but it's just constantly the constant change, shifting. And again, we have noted there's a lobbyist behind just about every one of these changes that the Congress critters are proposing to the tax code. And all of that madness just goes away with the fair tax. You pull the Internal Revenue Code out by the roots and replace it with I think the 131 pages is the latest count I heard as to how long the fair tax bill in Congress is. 131 pages replaces 80,000 pages of statutes and case law and regulations and all this kind of stuff. Why are we still doing it the hard way when there's an easy way available to us? I will never understand that.
No, and it's not designed to be understood. That's the whole point. If it's like a shell game, you put the peanut underneath the shell and you squish them around on the table and you lift one up and it ain't there. And then you lift the other one up and it ain't there. And it's not in that one. And so I think our representatives are basically representing themselves and the lobbyists, and that's a shame. It's a pretty complex, entanglement that we find ourselves in regarding the very subject that we're talking about, taxation, and of
Yep.
course the legislation that keeps Congress and Senate too, for that matter.
Yeah, I think you've hit on it. The system is not designed to be understandable. It's designed to be incredibly complicated so that you have to hire professional help to deal with it. I do believe you're onto something there.
Well, but Phineas J. Whoopi, you're a genius.
Indeed. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Genius, let's move on FairTax Power Radio to something that I don't think that you're a part of this Facebook discussion group or Messenger discussion group that I saw this on the other day. We may be able to add you if you'd like to. But I saw in an interesting discussion, somebody was talking about he runs into people all the time that says, well, the fair tax is a sales tax, it's regressive, it needs to have some exemptions in it. Why are we taxing food, for example? Why does the fair tax apply to food? Why don't we exempt food? And so the discussion on the board there was, how do we answer people like that who clearly don't understand that the fair tax already has a way to make sure that you're not taxing food without actually granting all these exemptions? And he said, yeah, we do not want to get in the business of the government deciding what is and what isn't, quote, food.
Well, they do that now with everything else, though. I mean, the government, even what we've just talked about in the tax code, they're picking winners and losers. They're saying, do this, not this. We're going to have this for this group, but not this group. So the complexities that we examine every week through Congress.gov should indicate to everyone that we don't want any of that. But I have people tell me, well, we need to take care of making sure the food resources are affordable and available, and this type of category. And it's kind of like when I guess we're going to bring in a conversation about SNAP, which is
that was part of the discussion there as well. It says, all right, well, if you want to see what happens when the government gets in the business of deciding what is and what isn't food, let's just look at the regulations they put on you for the SNAP program. It used to be called food stamps. It's Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, I think is the official acronym for that thing. But so we said, all right, let's go dig in here. What you can and can't buy with SNAP. And we dug into here, and it's, of course, as you could expect, this changes constantly. There's always, they'll get it one way, then they'll add something, then they'll take it out way, and it's just as unstable as the tax code almost. But says, well, what could you use your SNAP benefits for if you qualify for them? It said most edible items you would commonly purchase at the supermarket qualify, including fruits and vegetables, either fresh, frozen, or canned, meat, poultry, and fish, again, fresh, frozen, or canned, dairy products, bread, and cereal. But they have these staple food categories. One thing you cannot buy with your SNAP benefits is hot food. Yeah, sometimes you go into the grocery store, sometimes you see them roasting chickens, those rotisserie chickens there for sale, or a lot of them have a little lunch counter or something on the side where you can buy stuff. No, you can buy cold chicken back there in the freezer, but you can't buy hot chicken in the front of the store. Now, how cool is that?
And the question that I would have is, why not?
It's the same chicken. It's just one's heated and one's frozen. And it says you cannot buy rotisserie chicken. You cannot buy, oh, this would kill me, pre-cooked pizza slices. If I can't buy pizza, I'm in trouble. You can go back to the freezer and buy a frozen pizza, but you cannot sit down at the counter up there at the front of the store if there is one and order a slice of pizza that's already been heated for you. You can buy a can of soup, but you can't sit there at the lunch counter and order a bowl of hot soup or chili or something like that. And you can't get, you can buy a jar or a bag of coffee, but you can't go for and order a cup of coffee. This is the kind of craziness you get when the government starts sticking its nose into what you can and can't do. We do not want that in the fair tax. Good grief.
Well, the HR 25, the Fair Tax Act, the prebate basically says you are untaxed up to the poverty level, and we talk about this all the time. And there's a lot of debate around the fairness of the prebate, and it falls into this very same category when we talk about the supplemental benefits, and basically guiding you into a path to what you can get. I was reading a little bit in this article, and one thing that kind of stood out for me was you can get cold sandwiches, salads, and other deli items if you'll be taking them home to eat. Okay, so
Yeah.
my question would be, is that the language, or is this some condensed terminology that's here? Because my question would be, okay, I got to take it home. Can I not go on a picnic at the park or eat it in the
Yeah.
car? I'm
Yeah.
sure that it means
If you go to think about it, you go to Subway and they are a place like that, and you order a cold sandwich. What's one of the things they ask you? Would you like us to heat this for you? Would you like it hot pressed? And
Yeah.
it says, all right, if is it eligible to be bought with your SNAP benefits if it's cold, but if they heat it for you, it's not. And do you
Snap,
plan to, if you plan to take it home to eat it, you could use your SNAP benefits. But if you're going to eat it there at the store or eat it in the car, or as you say, taking a picnic, why do we introduce all this complexity? And that is exactly the same kind of complexity, folks, we're going to get if we start getting into the business of granting exemptions and saying, well, we're not going to tax food. Well, okay, if the fair tax is not going to tax food, we have to define what food is and what food isn't. And this is the kind of stuff you get into when you start letting the government at any level make those kind of decisions for you. I would prefer to make my own decision as to what food is and what food isn't, and what I'm going to buy and what I'm not. If I'm going to buy, cornflakes or granola bars or stuff like that, and if I want to heat them up, I will. Again, this is just crazy.
and I think folks get a little bit confused about the prebate, and we'll get into that in another
Yeah,
episode.
yeah. Let's do another whole show on the prebate. It's been a while since we've done that. Most people who are watching us already understand the prebate, but maybe we need to give some resource material that they can pass on to their friends and family who aren't really quite sure how this works. But there it says, I'm looking ahead in this article again, and let's see, the print on this is so small. I'm trying to
You
figure
can't
give
buy
credit.
beer, wine, or liquor. You can't buy pet food. You can't buy cigarettes, uh, including cigars and chewing tobacco. They're excluded under SNAP. And of course, SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program administered by, you guessed it, the federal government. Why do things have to be so complex is my question. And I think that's
Uh,
what we get with the Fair Tax Act. It takes all of the complexity out of the funding of the government. But I mean, I'm sure that SNAP would still be around. We're not talking about getting rid of SNAP, but with the prebate, you will be able to take the money that you get based on your family size up to the poverty level and buy whatever you want to, whatever you consider essential. And I guess if you're getting a supplement from SNAP, then you're basically going to have to play by their rules for that.
And
Now,
yeah, again, that's it. The SNAP per se is usually outside the scope of what we talk about here on the Fair Tax Power Radio, but we're just using the regulations within this particular program to illustrate what is likely and not, I wouldn't say likely, I'd say is inevitable to happen if we start granting exemptions within the fair tax for, well, let's not tax food or let's not tax medicine. I mean, a prescription drug might be considered medicine for sure, a bottle of aspirin maybe, but sometimes those supplements, where you see the little thing on it that says these statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to cure, prevent, or treat any disease. Is that medicine? Would that be exempt under the fair tax or not? If the fair tax exemption, you don't know. Not if you start getting into letting the government make those kind of decisions. But with the fair tax, you just say, all right, buy whatever you want to in your basic necessities, and we won't catch you. We'll refund back to you the tax that you pay on those necessities up to the poverty level. Let me give credit real quick at the article we're looking at. It's rolled up to the top and see what it is. This is from the National Council on Aging. In ncoa.org is where we are looking at this article explaining what goes on with SNAP. Yet, as you mean, no beer, no wine, no liquor. Oh, that's bad for you. The government wants to control your behavior. Well, yeah,
Or
a good case can be made that beer and wine and liquor and cigarettes are not things that are good for you, and therefore you shouldn't be using your SNAP benefits to get them. But then again, that's the government telling what you can and can't do. And unfortunately, that's the people. Whether SNAP benefits is considered your money or the government's money could be a matter of debate as to whether they're trying to restrict what I can do with my own money. No, they're trying to restrict what you can do with their money, whatever. But it did say pharmacy items is listed as a no-no under SNAP. You cannot buy any prescription or over-the-counter drugs. You can't buy vitamins or supplements. They won't qualify for SNAP. And personal care items like soap and deodorant and household cleaners and diapers and baby wipes and toothpaste and stuff like that, you can't have. So you start getting into all these exemptions, and you just say what is and what isn't. We don't want that complexity. We don't want the lobbyists for all of these different folks affecting what's in the fair tax. Just leave it like it is. Oh, but you can buy seeds and plants. Do you realize that?
Yeah, and that's something that would be nice. Have a small garden. You can purchase seeds and plants over time. It can basically is more economical than buying produce in the store. So they look forward to that. However, and this is what gets me.
There's always a however.
And for other purposes. If you'd like to keep chickens in your yard, you can't use SNAP to purchase them or the eggs they will hatch from. The program prohibits buying live animals except in the case of shellfish, like lobster at Winn-Dixie, or other seafood and animals slaughtered before you get them from the store.
If you'd like to keep chickens in your yard, you can't use your SNAP benefits to buy your chicken feed either, can you? So we're not hitting on SNAP for sure. We're just illustrating what happens when the government steps in and starts making decisions like we don't want them to do within the fair tax. Where can you use your SNAP benefits? Well, grocery stores are fine, convenience stores, farmers markets, specialty food shops. Nope, no liquor stores and no restaurants and fast food joints.
Well, but the thing is, and this goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago with the prebate. And we're not eliminating we're just using SNAP as an example of government dictates in terms of programs that you may or may not be a part of. The challenge is, how do you advance out of needing that in the first place? And I think the fair tax, once implemented, will go a long way towards helping people move up the income ladder, giving them a certain amount of relief, and across the board with the entirety of the fair tax, the relief that will come from a business owner to a mother, a single mother with 4 children working 2 jobs. I believe people can start to look at that. The fact that people are saying, well, if we have the fair tax, we probably need to have a few of these exemptions in there, but that's like the camel's nose going under the tent. Once it's there, there's no way to back out of it. You're going to have to fold that tent up on that camel and start over.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. Hold that thought there about how the fair tax might help people, pull themselves away from needing some of these social assistance programs. We'll see if we can work that into next week's episode here on Fair Tax Power Radio. But again, the question again was on the discussion group is how do we answer people who say the fair tax ought to have these exemptions in it for food and medicine and stuff like that? And I think the answer to that is go look at what you can and can't do with the SNAP program, and that will give you an idea of what the government will do when they get into the business and
Right.
start making these kinds of decisions. And we don't really want the government making these kinds of decisions. We want to have our own decisions. We want to be able to decide for ourselves what our basic necessities are. We don't want the government telling us what we can and can't, get tax free. Just,
Right.
buy what you want up to a certain level, whatever it is, and we'll refund the tax that you pay on those purchases. And that is elegantly simple. It is elegantly fair. It is. What's the downside? I don't see one.
Well, and there'll be folks out there that are just scared to jump in the deep end of the pool. And by that, I mean, hey, this sounds really good. However, I've heard from over here that this is a problem. The prebate, it's going to be bad for lower income people. It's not going to treat everybody fairly, blah, blah. We go on and on. The act of implementation. I hate to use Representative Pelosi's line from the ACA days. We have to pass it to see what's in it. That's not the case with the fair tax. It's how many pages? 134?
I think 131 is what I heard.
One. And for crying out loud, it's simple. It's so simple. And as far away as we can push the federal government out of our lives, the better. And this appears to me, and it has for many, many years, to be the most efficient way to do that. We just have to get to it. We had an episode too long ago. We were talking about the women's right to vote and how long it took for that to come about. It was like 90 years or something like that.
I think it was over 100 years from the first idea to the fact that it actually came into fruition. And that was way back in the archives. I do remember doing that one though. But sometimes good things just take time. And we've been working on the fair tax for 25 years now. But we'll work for another 25 and another 25 after that, if that's what it takes to get rid of the income tax, put the IRS out of business, and give everyone, much more control over when they pay their federal taxes and how much they pay in federal taxes and such and such. And we just don't want the government making these kinds of decisions for us. And that's going to wrap this edition of Fair Tax Power Radio up, man. We had too much fun too quick. Our time is gone already. So again, we will thank everyone for tuning in. Appreciate you sharing the videos, telling your family and friends about the fair tax. We have an archive of these programs at Rumble. We have the archive there on the FAIRtax Guys YouTube channel. There's a lot there, so you can always go back and check on stuff like that. And hopefully you'll be back to check on stuff next week on FAIRtax Power Radio, same time, same channel. Till then, until we meet again, I'm Bob Paxton.
I'm Bob Scarborough.
We are the FAIRtax Guys, reminding you the fair tax is the only truly fair tax, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
So, how much will I bring home?
Go ahead.
How much do you make? We'll just say 40,000. Okay, keep it simple, throw out the deductions, all that stuff. So, you got your 40K, right? Now the first 8,000 is going to be taxed at 10%. The 8 to 33,000 is going to be taxed at 15%. And the 33 to 40, of course, is 25%. So that brings your total to $6,345.
Okay, so the average is what?
16%. Okay, and then on top of that, you got Medicare, which is 1.5%, and then of course your Social Security, which is 6.2%. So actually, your new total is $9,405.
Which is
23.65%. You're getting it. You're getting it. Don't even get me started on what the boss has to pay. He's got to pay a portion of your taxes as well, so you don't have to.
Right. And you?
Oh, you'd bring home every penny.